Hey everybody, welcome back to the Boston-Raleigh channel. We're back with China. We're back with China series by Epic History. Definitely be sure to check them out. Very good channel. I like a lot of their stuff, and we're still watching China. Uh, we're doing more China stuff. We got Chiang Kai-shek retreated to Taiwan, the island currently known as Taiwan, which is the Republic of China, versus the People's Republic of China, which is mainland China, which is been ravaged by communism. As far as we're aware, 45 million people last episode were killed by starvation via the mismanagement, quote unquote mismanagement, which is actually just, centrally controlled economy, because that's always how it works, because you don't have economic indicators that tell you the nuanced things happen in an economy. It's kind of like a biological ecosystem in that way, where there are small things that you can't just, be a human, not from a god perspective, but from a human perspective. You can't just write out a plan on paper and make the economy work like that. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. So we got China. China's ruined at this point. This is like the 60s now. And yeah, episode 9, here we go. Rise of China, Cultural Revolution. To rebel is justified. Mao's slogan, 1966. There we go. The Little Red Book. Oh, it's Mao's Little Red Book, 1966 through 1968. So it's funny to me because, they say Little Red Book 66 through 68, but this is just a book that got published a lot, and everyone's supposed to have one. It's like, so you got like the Little Red Book, you got that little handout thingy. It's bad, guys. It's bad.
The 1960s, and China is back as a major world power.
Oh,
a nuclear-armed communist state, charting its own course, with access to vast reserves of human and economic potential. And yet, recent years have seen disastrous mistakes by China's leaders,
Chairman Mao,
with horrifying consequences for its people.
You might have thought that was annoying, but this is the same caliber of annoying as someone talking in this period of time.
The blunders of the Great Leap Forward mean Communist Party Chairman Mao Zedong has taken a back seat in running the country.
Yep.
But his presence still looms large. And he is already planning his return to frontline politics. A new book helps to prepare the way. Quotations from Chairman Mao, published in 1964.
The infamous Little Red Book here. We got quotations from Chairman Mao, just to, like, think about this in the way of, like, imagine having a secular, like, a secular society. Usually what communist states, they strive for is a secular society. But it just so happens that in order to get rid of religion, they have to use religion, This is what this is. If you don't consider this religious zealotry, I don't know what the hell it is. Like, I don't know what the hell to call it. A Little Red Book that, like, everyone's supposed to have, that's just like, if you're from last episode, the quote, if we failed, you're not following the supreme leader's instructions closely enough. This is religious fervor here.
Famous Little Red Book.
Yep.
It contains 427 sayings that encapsulate the essence of Mao Zedong thought.
Wow.
And is small enough to be carried and studied by every woman and man in China.
Yep.
More than 1 billion copies are printed in the next decade.
That's a lot. That's a lot. It's not like all of China's even literate at this point. You've got a ton of poor people. So you just have a bunch of people trying to read this thing that probably can barely read. 1 billion copies? Because at this point, China only has about 1 billion people. Maybe.
second only to the Bible.
Yep. That's why I said religious
Then
fervor.
in 1966, Mao makes a very public political intervention. Mao believes that the success of the Chinese Communist Revolution relies upon continuous momentum. He now feels support for that project is waning and plans a radical program of renewal.
I mean, it just does seem to be the case that Mao kind of sucks at this. And this is what the Great Leap Forward is a really big demonstrator that, like, a lot of people will say, like, well, it worked for a few years, but centrally planned economies don't work. This is the problem. You need it functioning like the ecosystem it's supposed to be. If you try to recreate like when they do biodome experiments, it's never perfect, so it always fails. I liken it to ecology. You can't make things. You cannot possibly perceive the microscopic nuances in genetics and life to make everything tick the way you want. No one is God, therefore they cannot make a centrally planned economy.
Of hidden enemies within the Chinese Communist Party, he calls for a new state of permanent cultural revolution.
Right. And this is one of the big parts of communism that really, in my view, should just kind of scare people who are communist. Infinite revolution. Always rebel, always constantly destroying the old to build a new. It's sort of the opposite. In some ways, it's the opposite, like a very bad opposite, but the opposite end of what we have in America, where old people live off the young. Young people live to destroy the old in China. This is how it works. And not just old people, but like the old way of thinking. Anything that is archaic in any way, shape, or form.
The youth must rise up, he says, and smash the four olds. Old thought, old culture, old habits, and old ideas.
See, this is the big one. Smashing the four olds, right? You have old thought, Chinese philosophy. Usually considered a very strong form of Eastern thought. Have to just completely destroy all that. Leave it on the road, sitting there, dead, gone, destroyed. Old culture, Chinese culture, very rich culture, gone. Bye, out of here. And this is why I'll always say that Taiwan is actual China and China is fake China and Taiwan is real China. Now this will get me demonetized on YouTube, I'm sure. Not that I was ever monetized in the first place. We don't have that kind of viewership yet, but you know, old habits, self-explanatory, and then old ideas, just, I mean, this is all one and the same. Smashing all of those things is all the same thing. We're going to get rid of old stuff because we don't like the old stuff, especially when it comes to the ideas, the thoughts, and the culture. We don't like it. If you're a communist, you know, you gotta go and destroy it all, because communism doesn't work in line with old ways of being. The good ways of doing things, anything that was good about the way China did things. I mean, obviously, hyper-conservatism is bad. You can end up destroying yourself with some sort of extremism in the opposite direction, but this will never work. Just from a foundational perspective, foundationally, ideologically, this can never work. And that's why you have infinite revolution forever. That's what this is. This is what always, like, constant, you always have to rebel. You always have to destroy anything that ever came before it. Because it's always, we're going to complain about the past. We don't like how this wasn't perfect, so we're going to, quote unquote, make it better by destroying it. It's sort of like, you took the making the perfect the enemy of the good, but you kind of flipped it on its head in a sense that no matter how bad the way that things could be, you're gonna still do that in spite of not settling for the fact that something literally isn't perfect.
Mao can rely on a group of loyal attack dogs to support him in his new campaign. They include Defense Minister Lin Biao, who controls the military,
right,
and Mao's wife, former actress Jiang Qing, who controls much of the media.
Dude, that's kind of wild. You don't really even hear about this very much. Lin Biao is well known. I feel like Jian Qing, you don't hear about her as much because it's the kind of thing that the left globally doesn't really like to admit, is that they have to hold the reins of the media to be relevant.
Initially, students and youths respond to Mao's call with enthusiasm. They organize themselves into units known as Red Guards, donning red armbands and brandishing Mao's little red book.
Everything is China. Everything is communist red. That is what I'm learning here.
Millions travel to Beijing, where Mao reviews them at mass rallies in Tiananmen Square.
That won't be relevant later on at all. That place, Tiananmen Square.
The Red Guards will be Mao's enforcers. They quickly turn on their university lecturers and high school teachers, symbols of the old order, many of whom are beaten and humiliated.
Now, it might not be this overt, but this is what you see happening all over Western society. Now, not anymore, because they've already finished excising all of the old ways of thinking from pretty much everything. I mean, I go as far as saying that Disney was a very, very big pioneer in this direction, but in a cultural sense. But old ways of thought have to go for the revolution. And this is what you see. This is what you see in America. This is definitely what you see in Britain. This is what you see in large swaths of Western countries everywhere. You have to constantly denigrate, humiliate, or do anything to destroy that which came before. Right? That's how revolution works. And this is the way that we've hyper-industrialized revolution throughout the 20th century. And into the 21st century now, because we're still dealing with the ramifications of that worldwide.
Jiang Qing encourages the violence at a student rally.
Oh, yes. As we all know, very, very great when people encourage violence. Yes, definitely the best. Not terrible at all. This lady is just awful. I mean, I think so many people, and this is why I've said I made a lot of stink last year, especially when it comes to people I would talk to in person, making a lot of stink about the people, the hoodlums, the vagrants, the ne'er-do-wells. I kind of put together this whole category, like, everyone is kind of on the same page of, let's start getting violent. I don't like political violence. As a general rule, political violence only serves to assert one end, and that is the incorrect end. I think the correct end largely wins out in the public square with people making good faith arguments, intellectual honesty, trial and error. You usually see the good win out in Western societies, and back in the hyper-conservative Eastern societies, they've done a number. It's fake China. They've done a number on actual Chinese society.
If good people beat bad people, it serves them right.
Uh-huh.
If bad people beat good people, the good people win glory.
Interesting. That's a very interesting principle too, because you have the idea that if the higher caliber people resort to violence, that only works to denigrate them. If the lower caliber people and ideas resort to violence, that uplifts. And that's what this whole thing is about recently here in the States. And this is why I think this is probably the most relevant, maybe the most relevant episode of the series we're doing on a broad scale, because you see this coming out of everywhere. It serves them right because they're bad people. Right? It's sort of a glory war. You get rid of the people who are actually doing good, because you call them bad and say it's good to beat them. And then when they beat you, they've fallen short of their moral standards. So then you can use that against them. That's what always happens. That's what always happens when it comes to
Within
like
weeks,
staunch left-wing
the
communism.
chaos spreads from campuses to society at large, and from Beijing to every city and province in China. Mobs of Red Guards, often thousands strong, roam the streets, attacking anyone they deem bourgeois or reactionary. Millions of ordinary people are targeted on trumped-up charges.
Yep. The justice thrown to pieces. Just you use the system to destroy. It's not about justice anymore.
Or simply for being literate or interested in traditional Chinese culture.
And this was wild because, like, the Red Book, think about it this way, Mao's Red Book is only readable by people who are literate. So if the book is read to you, you can make it sound the way you want. You can't read anything else to compare it against. I mean, it's not like they would have had a whole lot of books in this era in China. The Mao's Red Book was the only book. That was their Bible. But they make it so that people cannot become better. Even if you apply that to more of an at-home Western standard here in the U.S., being literate really isn't the issue. Although being literate does help, it's the idea that we can take away this intellectual standard from people so that they cannot fight back. Once the intellectuals are completely defenestrated on our opposing side, then we can do whatever we want. Right? That's how it works.
No one is safe.
Right. No one is safe.
Victims are
Infinite
subjected to
revolution.
struggle
Forever.
sessions, in which they are publicly humiliated, tortured, and beaten, sometimes to death. Friends and relatives of the accused are often forced to lead the attacks. Millions of books, artworks, and monuments linked to pre-communist China are destroyed.
Yep. Can't see.
On the 26th of December 1966, at his 73rd birthday party, Mao calls for all-round civil war.
What?
Party officials are to be purged and replaced with revolutionary committees.
Infinite revolution forever. It's just like the Jacobins in France. For those of you who don't know, the Jacobins, they started guillotining a bunch of people, chop off with their head. And at some point, the leaders of the Jacobins found themselves in the guillotine from other Jacobins because revolution forever. This is what always happens. It's infinite revolution forever. No one is safe. It's just that the alligator will eat you last. It is not that anyone here actually wants this. It is so toxic and terrible. I can't believe, like, you have so many people who kind of flirt with this stuff. Like, they're not extremists, but they are fine with this, and they allow it to happen, and they're some of the first that are gone. They'll get purged just like everyone else. I mean, even the radicals will get purged someday by the infinite revolution forever. But it's just awful. It's the kind of awful that even one-ups itself. It always finds a way to get worse. That's what modern China, that's what modern communism largely is. We can always make it even worse. When you don't expect it to get any worse, it will still get worse.
These will consist only of supporters of the Cultural Revolution. In other words, those loyal only to Mao. The military is ordered to support the purge, leading to a much bloodier phase of the Cultural Revolution.
Right.
In 1967 alone, an estimated 250,000 people are killed. And
I mean, it didn't even seem like that much given the numbers we've seen out of China in these videos, but it's still pretty awful. 250,000 people were killed in the revolution to just, you know, perpetuate itself. There's not an end to say that peace is achieved. There will be a time where we need to purge the next set of people, and then the next set, and then the next set. It will always and forever be that way. It's like this weird amalgamate Ouroboros of death and destruction.
750,000 left permanently disabled.
Oh, okay, so 1 million total casualties, basically. The revolutionary torrents of the masses are washing away, and all the sludge and filth left over from the old society, Lin Biao. See, it's funny because no one is safe. No one is safe. Permanent resolution, 1968. Yep.
In 1968.
Infinite revolution, always and forever. That is what anyone. If you're a part of the Democrat Socialists of America, remember this: infinite revolution forever. This is what this is. This is what this always becomes.
Mao launches a new campaign to cleanse the class ranks, spreading further terror.
I mean, so at the risk of burning everyone out by pausing so much to explain more and more, there just is no upper bound. There is no constraint. So when you come to a standard of permanent revolution, you see society completely fall apart in a way that, like, you can never recover from this. The only way to ever recover from this is have a completely wide swath counter-revolution that really can't even exist in a society this way, because they've completely destroyed. They have at the granular level destroyed every single facet of everything. Everything that made what once was, and so that can never return. At the very least, not by people. Again, Taiwan would have to overtake China for that to actually ever happen, because that is real China and China is fake China.
All sections of society, across all ages, are affected. A further 30 million are subjected to struggle sessions.
What are struggle sessions?
Mao's wife, Jiang Qing, a key leader of the Cultural Revolution, is now one of the most powerful and feared figures in China.
I mean, I'm imagining struggle sessions bad. They just don't
The
explain
chaos reaches the very top of the party, as Mao settles scores with perceived rivals. Liu Shaoqi, China's head of state, is dragged to struggle sessions along with his family.
Ooh, explain it. Explain,
They are
please.
publicly beaten by Red Guards and imprisoned. At the 1969 Party Congress, State Premier Zhou Enlai denounces Liu as a criminal traitor, enemy agent, and scab in the service of the imperialists, modern revisionists, and the nationalist reactionaries.
And what did that man do? He did absolutely nothing to ever do, like, none of this. Absolutely none of this applies, right? This man was a communist leader. But it just wasn't good enough. He had to be the person taken out in the next wave. Because it is forever, it is infinite revolution forever.
A broken man, Liu dies in prison 7 months later.
Sad. But
Other prominent victims include Deng Xiaoping,
wow,
a leading pragmatist and reformer on the Politburo Standing Committee.
Right, and this is part of the other thing. If you're ever moderate of their far left, you will always be considered part of the problem. You must be purged. For, like, it, as I've said many times this episode, as I've said before in the past, infinite revolution forever.
He is sent to work in a tractor factory. His brother is driven to take his own life.
No limiting
His
principle.
son is tortured by Red Guards for months, and then thrown from a third-floor window, leaving him paralyzed for life. Many other senior officials are purged. Among them, Xi Jinping, the father of future Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
Eek.
Zhou Enlai survives as Premier of the People's Republic of China, though his adopted daughter, Sun Wei-shi, is arrested, tortured, and dies in prison. Zhou expresses no public criticism and endorses the persecution of former colleagues. It is a strategy of political survival. His personal relationship with Mao is uneasy. Mao envies Zhou's popularity, but relies on him to run the government and mastermind China's foreign relations. However, Mao names Loyalist Defense Minister Lin Biao, not Zhou, to be his successor when the time comes.
And this is what will always happen, is that there will be the teacher's pet, essentially. There will be the brown noser, the absolute biggest loyalist ever, never criticizes anything. That is the only way you're ever going to achieve anything. And even then, I don't know, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Even then, I don't know, does it work out? Does it work out even then, when you've made no effort whatsoever to do anything counter to the inherent principles here? Does that work out? Maybe.
In July 1968, Mao orders the Red Guards to end their attacks, which have served their purpose. But bloody suppressions and campaigns will continue for years.
So sad.
In the final reckoning, Mao's cultural revolution claims the lives of unknown thousands, perhaps millions.
Oh.
It inflicts cruel and inhumane treatment on countless more, and destroys huge swathes of China's cultural heritage. The deep trauma, for victims and perpetrators, lasts to this day.
This is that which is wrought by those who hate humanity and hate the existence of anything. Communism is in my opinion, is the ultimate form of narcissistic nihilism. As the Chinese saying goes, one should not lose the major for the sake of the minor. Letter from Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai to President Nixon, 1973. So one should not lose the major for the sake of the minor. As the Chinese saying goes. Okay. Sure. Quote unquote China. Right? Because again, it's fake China. Ping pong diplomacy. See, now it's funny because I know for a fact if I were to ever call anything ping pong diplomacy and there was not a person who is aware that that is the official term, they would call me a racist. Oh, it's great. Maybe we should get into ping pong diplomacy next time. I've ranted and raved on for a while today. It's kind of it's an upsetting thing to watch happen. It's sort of disgusting and denigrating to everyone involved when something like this happens in any society, and it is one of the worst things to ever happen in any society in the history of the world. I'd argue very substantially. I mean, it is not directed towards one group of people, granted, but I think I'd much rather be living in somewhere like I'd much rather be a persecuted class in a place that persecutes said class, aka like fascist regimes. It seems like I'd take the fascist regime over this, because at least at some point there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. China's never completely gotten, like, China's never really actually gotten any better since this has happened. Nothing is healed. Nothing has actually been allowed to replant, retake hold, and reflourish. None of that. We get nothing. They lose forever. Infinite revolution forever. Lose forever. That's the way that works. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next Monday with another one. Bye-bye.